the 4 games previous that he wasn't up to the job? 100% he did. It's a really difficult decision to make, Tom, but it's a decision what the hierarchy are going to have to make. They're going to have to sit down and they're going to have to look at the 4 games, 5 games now, what he's had, and think, do we see signs here? And you always remember the last game. And the last game against Liverpool at Anfield, which is notoriously a poor ground for Tottenham, he's gone and he saw a positive performance and a positive result. A point is a stepping stone for more points. Whether I would keep him or not, I think if you looked over the 5 games, you'd say probably not. But there was common sense used yesterday. He went to the back 4. He prefers playing the 3. I know he's got a shortage of players at his disposal at the moment, but they looked organised. They looked like they were up for it. There was more organisation, certainly. They played a little bit more direct. There wasn't ponderous build-up play, trying to play through the thirds. They got it back to front. We saw with the goal, Vicario gets straight to Cowlin, who outmuscles Robertson for Richie to score. It was common sense the way he approached it. I can't say that about the previous 4 games. So it was positive signs, and I think it's a really tough decision to know whether they stick or twist.
Well, I want to know what everyone, the viewers, think. Scan the QR code there on the side of the screen. We've got a fan view in a moment. I've just got 1 second there before we go to that. Well, that's how you get involved in analysis. I just want to ask Tim one more question before we do this, before we get the fan in. What do you make of this, right? A new manager's come in, and often the case is the players need to try harder. OK, we've got some running stats for you. Opta says the most distance Spurs have covered in Premier League matches this season are both under Tudor. Liverpool yesterday and against Fulham, all right, a couple of weeks ago. 3 of his 4 Premier League matches sit in this top 5 for Spurs this season. Yeah. Does that suggest they are trying harder, and that can only be a good thing? If you're running more, that can only be a good thing, surely?
I'm not sure it is. No, I don't agree. I think some years back, I think it might be a Mourinho side or maybe a Conte side at Chelsea. They run less than any team in the league, but still won the trophy. I think they got the biggest sweat on when they were carrying the trophy around the pitch after the last game of the season. No, it's about how you run, when you run, what intensity you run at. Sometimes it's right to stand still. So I don't read into running stats. I really don't. Right. Fans do, because they want to see, they must be trying harder because they're running more. Sometimes your headless chicken's just running all over the pitch. It's not the correct thing to do.
That's exactly how I got sucked into that one.
Headless chicken.
Thanks for explaining it. Thanks for explaining it. We'll speak to Chris Cowlin in a moment. Here's how you get involved in the Finalysis app. Scan the QR code here, and you will have all of this at your fingertips.
Finalysis has partnered with Sky Sports to empower fan opinion. On the Finalysis app, you share your player ratings, your manager ratings, and your opinions on everything to do with your club, so that Sky Sports can put fan opinion at the heart of their football coverage. Scan the QR code to download the Finalysis app.
Chris Cowlin has done just that. Right, Chris, good morning. Does that goal keep you in the Premier League?
Tim, good morning. I certainly hope so. We saw a lot of grit, passion, desire from this team yesterday, and it was completely different. I completely agree with every single word that Tim said there about those previous 4 games against Arsenal, Fulham, Crystal Palace, Atletico Madrid. Really poor performances, and we didn't see anything in those games to give us any hope or positivity, going forward. But yesterday, that certainly does give us a lot of hope, and I really do hope that this is the turning point in our season. But let's face it, we had to get something out of this game because all of the teams around us at the bottom did all pick up a point. They all drew at the weekend, so it's very, very important that Spurs keep up. But what a huge game coming up on Sunday against Nottingham Forest. I know we've got Atletico Madrid on Wednesday, but a huge game going into the international break.
Chris, a couple of questions, mate. I mean, first of all, it's lovely to see you smile again, or half a smile. What would you do if you was in charge there? What would you do with this man now? Would you keep holding him on the back of that performance at Anfield?
Tim, I completely agree with what you said. I think it's all about next week. I think, those 4 games before the Liverpool game, we didn't see enough. I think most people, and I think we would have probably been talking about Igor Tudor being sacked this morning had he have not got a point, like you said. But, we do have that hope now. There is that hope that we can perform like this. And, Spurs probably didn't get enough credit yesterday, in my opinion, in the football world, because 13 players out. This team was a makeshift team. We had only 7 subs on the sub bench as well, including 2 goalkeepers, including a couple of academy players as well. So, there was no real depth on the bench as well. So, I just hope that this is a turning point. But you've got to take these positive signs. The fans have really got to get behind this team on Sunday. It's probably one of our biggest games in Premier League history for me, this Nottingham Forest game. Yeah. It's a real 6-pointer.
What would you do Wednesday?
I would rest as many players as possible, and I'd put a lot of academy players out. I really would, because we're 5-2 down anyway from the first leg, and I never ever thought I'd be saying this to you guys, but the Champions League must be secondary. Priority has to be the Premier League to have Premier League status for next season.
You go out, Chris. You score in the first 5 minutes. I think it's game on. 100%. I think Tottenham have a chance in that game. I think people must say you must be crazy, but I looked at Atletico Madrid. Tottenham give them 3-goal start. That is not a good side. That is a team what is not going to win the Champions League. I think Tottenham have to go for it.
Yeah, you say Atletico Madrid might not win the Champions League. Spurs won't win the Champions League. Let's be honest and frank about it, Tim.
Not with that attitude.
I'm a very positive person, but it's got to be all about Premier League status. I certainly do not want to be seeing Championship grounds next season. I want to be, continuing in the Premier League, and Spurs need to up their game in the summer and go all out and improve this squad, because we can't have another season like this one, or even like last season.
You last week were quite keen on a change in the dugout.
Yeah.
Would you have preferred to have lost yesterday and changed the manager rather than just get that 1 point?
I would never, ever sit here, Tom, and say that I want my team to lose under any circumstances.
But would you have more chance of staying up with a different manager? Because last week you thought that was the case.
Well, it depends. If these players are buying into what Tudor is trying to do, that is the ultimate thing. The games that I've seen previously, it has looked like these players are not buying into what he wants to do. And, like we spoke before, Tim, about different formations, players playing out of position, etc. But if he can get this team playing and getting results, yes, we've picked up a point, but we can't get carried away here. The circumstances and the points tally don't really change, because everyone around us picked up a point. So we are still only 1 point above the relegation zone. And, we've gone 12 games without a win. And that is the first time we've ever done that since 1935. This is the issue that Spurs are in, and the problems that we have right now. We need a win, and we need to get back to winning ways. We still haven't won a Premier League game in 2026. And I can't say, more how important this game is on Sunday against Forest. It is a real 6-pointer. And like I said, the fans need to be behind these players, regardless of what we think of the players, regardless of what we think of the manager, the owners, the situation, the board, etc. These fans really do need to get behind the players on Sunday and create such an amazing atmosphere.
Chris, I'm going to ask you a question. I think I know the answer, but I'm not sure your answer is going to be correct. If you're a manager, you look at the performance, the team, the togetherness, what played for me yesterday at Anfield. You got Mickey van der Ven to come back. You got Romero to come back. Do you put them back in the team?
That's a very good question. Talking to a lot of people yesterday, I think everyone was agreeing that he should be putting the same team out and keeping Romero and Van der Ven out. But I don't think that he is going to do that, because every Spurs manager sees Romero as this leader and the captain, and the quality of Mickey van der Ven. But when you see what type of performance we put in yesterday against Liverpool, it should be that same team. So it'd be a very, very interesting choice for the manager. It's an interesting one, Tim, yeah?
The problem is sorry, Tom.
No, carry on.
The problem is if Mickey does come back, or Romero comes back in, and Romero or Mickey try to get sent off again, we've seen that they can do this. They implode, they can see they do that. They let their teammates down. As much as they're the better players, we know that. How, if you're Danso or you're Dragusin, you've been left out, then the manager's got to call you back in. It's a really difficult balancing act for the manager to make this decision.
I've got to say, you mentioned Danso there. The away fans were singing Danso's name a number of times. Archie Gray, Pape Matar, them three I thought were immense yesterday for Tottenham. And, you can certainly see, some of these players really digging deep and giving everything. And like I said, I don't think Tottenham received enough credit. It's all about Liverpool not winning the game and not putting the game to bed. But, Spurs dug deep and we had that real belief. And that was the real change yesterday. And there was real belief as well, because even fans, making their way to Anfield yesterday, even rival fans were saying, what are you doing that for? Because this is going to be a high-scoring game for Liverpool. Everyone wrote Spurs off. So Spurs do need to, have that credit, going into the next game and have that confidence and belief that we can now pick up more points going forward.
Very quickly, Nick says, go and get Glasner now before he goes somewhere else. What do you think about that?
Well, I think Glasner has done a great job at Crystal Palace, but the way that he's conducted himself in the media, I just can't see that, a Premier League club, particularly Tottenham, with the amount of issues and the amount of managers we've gone through, I can't see that is going to happen. I can see that if we get a result against Nottingham Forest on Sunday, that they stick with Tudor until the end of the season. But he's been brought in to keep Spurs in the Premier League. As long as he does that, we'll be happy.
And do you win next Sunday?
I really do hope so, Tom. We need to give absolutely everything. These players need to give absolutely everything. And like I said, it is really, really important. The fan base need to get behind, regardless of what we all think about current situations, we all need to get behind them, and hopefully that they can dig deep and get the 3 points, because this is such an important game.
Well, they dug deep yesterday. Chris, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
So as we've been saying, next in the